So welcome back, everybody. This is Cable Rose. Let's talk leadership, and our new series we're going to be titled "The Arts Through the Apocalypse." I have with me today a special guest. We're going to speaking with a local photographer and local artist here in Amarillo. Her name is Angelina Marie, and so I'd like to introduce Angelina and have her come on the show.
Hi, I am Angelina Marie, and I'm a commercial photographer in the area, and I also run the Amarillo Womens Collaborative. Okay. And I edit a podcast. I forget about that.
You edit podcast as well, but
yeah.
go back one, the middle one there. So what is that? I saw a new project you were working on recently. So say more about that.
So the Amarillo Womens Collaborative is a group of women that support local female-owned businesses in the area. We've just started. We had our first event right before the pandemic hit, so we haven't been able to do much in the way of gathering. But for right now, virtually, we're doing cash mobs. So a virtual cash mob is a 24-hour period where you go shop at a specific locally owned business. So they can buy online or gift cards or things like that.
So Angelina, I really appreciate the fact that, one, I've had a really good time. I've been here 3 years locally. I followed your photography. I followed your journey that you've been on. I'm going to tease everybody out there. I hope this doesn't bother you. Let's see if this works. Let's see. I got to get out of the way here. This is some of Angelina's work. I stole this from her Instagram. I hope she doesn't mind. Oh, Angelina, talk about what these are. These are local here.
Yes. So anybody that's not from here probably thinks this is really weird. But Dynamite Museum was a group of artists that created these street signs, and each one is unique and hand created and was put in different yards around town. And some of them have not survived the years, and there's a little sign graveyard out on the edge of town, and that's where that one was from. But it was funded by Stanley Marsh, which I know a lot of people aren't a fan of for good reason.
Yep.
But also he funded it. He didn't create it. The artist created it.
Correct.
And I think the artists deserve to have as much of it, held together as possible.
So I'll help share with our audience as well. This individual collaboration was at the time the largest public street art anywhere on the planet. It was thousands and thousands of signs.
Yeah.
When my family and I moved here, we took adventures on the weekends. We would just start to drive around and start to look for them. We went on the east side of town, the north side of town, the south side of town. We went to the west side of town. We went everywhere. We didn't realize we have one 3 houses down from me. And it was a year and a half later before we saw it because it blended in. The gentleman kept it in his yard. It survived. And it's right there in the corner of the back of his yard. You'd never know it. But one curve as you come around, you can see it for just that split second. And I thought, man, how cool would that be to have a diamond in your yard or whatever?
Yeah. Which one's by your house?
I'm in Belmar, and I can't think of the title of what it says on the front of it. But right across the street, there's a couple on the other side of the street. I mean, they just, before you know it, they blend in. You don't realize it. And then 6 months later, you've driven by this place 15 times, and the 16th time, it stands out. It's amazing that literally laid out into our community the way it did. It's beautiful.
Well, I think it's fantastic that it's still surprising people.
I mean, think about it. It was the 90s. I mean, it was the mid 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I think, and unfortunately, I didn't know there was a graveyard on the other side of town. I didn't know that. That's unfortunate. And then the ones that are in yards where I see like a demolished or a abandoned house, it's like, I want to save it, but I don't want to save it because it's part of the
right. Yeah, you kind of want to preserve the original. I don't know, just where it was. But there is a few people that are going through and kind of preserving them. And if somebody's about to just chunk it into the junkyard, they do go and get it. So.
Man, that's awesome. I've got one more for you because I believe, is this the area in which you started your collaboration?
Or no. Oh, okay. Gosh, I wish. That's a beautiful space. No, that's part of my commercial photography. I work at a construction company. So.
Okay. So I didn't mean to sneak those in there, but I wanted to kind of showcase your eye and your passion for what you do. So what have you been doing? I mean, we've been home for 90 days now or whatever it's been. What have you been doing?
It took a little bit. I did have an hourly job doing marketing, and unfortunately was let go from that.
Hmm.
So I realized that I can't sit in my house. I'm not good at sitting still. So I figured to get some normalcy that I would do photo shoots with friends, which I started out doing, or I would just go driving around town to get out of the house and just listen to music and take photos of random anything, which is what I've always done since the beginning.
Okay.
But I started to realize I have to make money and I have to pay my rent. So I started to do the social distancing special where, it's basically a mini session, and it's not that much different except that we don't do it in a space. We just go outside, which Amarillo, as plain and basic as it can seem, has some really interesting, unique characteristics. So it's always fun to kind of drive around and find those little nooks and crannies that'll make for an interesting photo. So that's really what I've been doing.
Okay. And so as I perused and creeped your Instagram here recently, there is one building that stands out, and I have no idea where it is, but there's a few photographers I know here in town, and they always use this one. And it's got this exterior hallway that has these open slatted diamonds. I wish I had grabbed it for a background. It's a beautiful building. I have no idea where it is because I too would like to go stand up and lean up against that building and take it. It's a
Is it
slatted, like a slatted
gold?
hallway.
Is it gold or is it what is it?
Gold would be a good term. I would have said like a brick color gold, but yes,
Oh gosh, I'd have to go look.
I know.
There's
You'll
so
have to
many
pull it up.
buildings in this town.
Well, and so that's the other thing. I moved here not knowing what I was getting into. By the way, nobody told me about the wind. Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry.
We'll do the
Yeah.
wind in a whole nother series, but it really is a beautiful town. There is some amazing things to do here. It has a I'm from San Antonio just by my way of my military, but San Antonio was the last place I lived, and there's 5 million people, and it takes an hour to get across town. And I moved here, and I-40 was under construction, and
Mm.
everybody, and I used to work at Pantex, but everybody was like, oh, so it's an hour's drive across town. The traffic's horrible, and it takes like 8 minutes to get across town, even with the construction and the traffic. And then some
We're
of the
spoiled. Yeah.
yes, we are. We are. But it has a big city feel because there are things that happen here. And then it has that small town feel because everybody talks to everybody. I mean, so I joined a local business group, B&I, and everybody knew everybody. I could believe down to Canyon and all the way through to Vega and all the way to Fritch or whatever. Everybody knew somebody. Oh, help me out here. I'm gonna blow this. The local gentleman who's been here his whole life, and he did Hank the Cow Dog books. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and I can't remember his name.
So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's another one. My neighbors introduced me. We've got kids. They've got kids. They introduced me to Hank the Cow Dog. And then one
Yeah.
day, this was last year, but one day my daughter and I wandered into, is it Barnes and Nobles? What's the bookstore we have?
Barnes and Noble is that big chain on.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
wandered into there, and guess who's signing books in the back was the gentleman that came up with, and I didn't know he was even there. We just wandered in, so we bought books. We bought the little he's got like his little plushy toys, and we gave the kids and the books to the neighbors for introducing us to them and stuff. And it's a very unique town that we do live in, and it's
Mhm.
always cool to see what people are doing and how people are doing stuff. This is a weird time, man. This is weird, but I
It is, but also Amarillo has always been so isolated that we've been forced to kind of create things for ourselves to make it what we want it to be. So isolation isn't terribly new for Amarillo. It's just a little more extreme this time.
I agree. I agree. So I unfortunately had a death in the family, and I traveled back down to Florida during this, and it was just weird to be on the roads with nobody out there and see. But as soon as I traveled into Florida, there's a COVID checkpoint, and and I got into town, and I got into the state of Florida, and I thought I was at a spring break party. Everybody was out, everybody was just nobody cared. It was like
Mm.
crazy. I was excited to come back to some like-minded people that said, hey, let's take some precautions with this and let's just be safe. And so it was nice to get back. But man, I've got this great idea about this arts, and I really love the fact that we have artists everywhere in Amarillo. And so Angelina, I appreciate you coming on to just kind of share your upbeat and your kind of love for what you do and your adaptation of what you're doing, because like you said, reality is still there. I still got to pay my bills. I still got to, do what we do. But it's nice to know that we still have those possibilities and options. And I also liked, just before the session started, Angelina and I were talking, and you said that we're not going to go back to normal. So what do you mean by that?
I think it's going to be, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but I think it's going to be a while before we actually get on top of this virus. So our interactions are going to be very limited, and that makes them more special. And I don't know, I miss my family like crazy. I'm a huge family person, and I miss my friends, but I think it's going to make us appreciate all of this, but we're also going to be a lot more careful around each other, I hope. I know that's not the case for everybody, but we're going to conduct business differently. We're going to, go to school differently. We're going to go to work differently. So I don't know. I don't really know what it's going to look like. I don't know that any of us know what it's going to look like, because we've never done this before. So
I agree, but there's one word, and I have chill bumps because you said it. There's one word that just resonated with me. We're going to appreciate things. And it could be family, it could be friends, it could be not having quiet time, which a lot of us sometimes needed because the world was so busy. We were always doing something. And now we've kind of stepped back, that Paula Abdul, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We kind of stepped back a little bit, and, let's take a time to appreciate those small things. And I think the arts, I'm not an artist. I couldn't draw a stick figure. I can't sing to carry a tune. But I'm I guess a communicator of sorts. I talk to people. That's what I do. But my brother's an artist, like for real. His wife's an artist for real. Their daughter's an artist for real. My daughter's a musician. My daughter taught herself to play the piano by herself. I mean, there's just talent everywhere. And so I wanted to just share that, because just to sit and listen to her play the Harry Potter theme song, because she learned it by ear.
Yeah.
I want to appreciate that, right? But I don't want to appreciate it just because I'm forced to appreciate it. I want to appreciate it because I want to just stop. Ferris Bueller says it best, right? The world moves pretty fast. If you don't stop to smell the roses, which is flowers right behind you, if you don't stop to smell the flowers, right? Guess what? We might miss something. And so I think this was a really good pause in the world. And I think that this will help us, I think, like you said, kind of appreciate and redirect our focus from here on out. Or
I've heard it called the Great Pause, which I think is a very appropriate definition. And I think and I don't know that this is the case for everybody, but in my circle, it's very much hustle. The harder you hustle, the better you are. And that's not the case. We were driving ourselves insane. So to be able to stop during this time, figure out what we really do enjoy that helps our souls grow happier, we can take that into when things start to get normal again. And maybe actually take time for ourselves instead of having a side hustle. Just have a hobby. I mean, geez, just enjoy a hobby.
Yep. I have always wanted to, and I know this sounds silly, whittle wood. I've always wanted to lathe, and I want to do it. And so I'm on Amazon this week, and I'm already searching for like equipment. And I bought this little rollout pack of wood, and I have this tree out front that years ago when I got here, it was like half dead. So I chopped it, and I was like, oh, I'll take the rest of it down myself. I might go out there and play with it a little bit and see if I can do something with it in my time. And so, Angelina, you're pretty powerful. You've got some really, I've never heard the Great Pause, and I don't want to say that you came up with that, but I understand you shared that with us. But the way you said it, you want to appreciate what we do. We want to sit back, and rather than have a side hustle, we just want to have a hobby. Just want to appreciate those things. So I appreciate you being on with us today. This is what I want to do. I just want to share the passion and the joy that people have even during these times. And so I truly appreciate it. With Demetrius the other day, my sister-in-law, and now of course you, I really appreciate you sharing with us. And to everybody out there, Angelina Marie, this is here locally in Amarillo. I'll share with you her contact and her website and what she's been doing and her projects as well down in the list below. But Angelina, I appreciate you being here. Yeah.
Thank you.
And we will catch you guys on the flip flop. Bye, everybody.